J. Micah Hancock here with All Israel News, and we are back with Ramin. Last time he told us his personal story of how he left Iran, eventually got connected with who is his wife, and came to Israel. In this episode, he's going to tell us about the protests that are currently going on against the regime in Iran. So you mentioned seeing these people either being hung or being beat on the streets. We're seeing some similar images today out of Iran, and in fact, the whole world is kind of watching. What are you hearing from people in Iran?
The Iranian people are sick and tired of the Islamic regime. So I remember that when I was a teenager, there were protests, but it was more about free speech and free expression. Then eventually became economics, because people really began to suffer economically. You know, in 1979, a dollar was 7 to 1. $1 was 7 to 1, Persian currency. Today, $1 is 144,000 to 1, $1. So imagine, I put it in this way. If you buy half a kilo or a pound of beans in Iran today, with that money, you could buy 27 cars in 1978. Just imagine. So people, young people, suffering. Their money worth less every day. They work hard. By the end of the week, end of the month, their money was worth half. And so imagine if you save money to buy a house or a car, every day your money is worthless. So Iranians are suffering economic. And then on top of that, the regime was beating the woman, like Mahsa Amini, you know, life, woman, freedom. They began to beat this woman to death because a little bit of her hair was out. Not that she didn't have a hijab, a little bit of hair was visible. And they beat her to death. And they began to beat women for not having hijab, harassing them on the streets for not having enough Islamic hijab. And because of this, so it was first freedom of expression, then economics. On top of that, they began to torture and beat people, humiliate people, harass people. So Iranian got sick and tired. And now it's identity, a battle for identity. They say, actually, we're not Muslims. We're not Arab Muslims. We are Persians. We're children of Cyrus and Darius and Xerxes. So the Iranian people are identifying with their Persian history rather than Islam. So imagine, I put it this way. In Iran, if you have a child and you go to get an ID, they put a list in front of you to choose the name from the list. You cannot choose a name out of the list. And all the names are Arabic names. Hassan, Hussein, Muhammad. And you can't choose even a Persian name. So most Iranians have a Arabic name in their ID, but they are changing their names, calling themselves, call me Cyrus, Quraysh, or Darius. They're changing their names because they are distancing themselves from Islamic identity to Persian identity. You know, when I was a teenager, we used to go to mosque for Persian New Year. All Iranians used to go to mosque. Today, Iranians go to the resting place of King Cyrus. They go there, celebrate the New Year. And mosques used to be full, and I mean, there was no space to sit. We used to go beat ourselves, as Shiites. Thousands of kids, tens of thousands. Now it's 3-4 older people. Mosques, there are 75,000 mosques in Iran. 50,000 are closed due to no attendance. And even the ones that are open, a few handful of people go. So Iranians have dumped Islam. They distance themselves from Islamic identity, and they're identifying themselves with the Persian identity. So who was Cyrus? He was the first Zionist, first Gentile Zionist that helped the Jewish people, free the Jews from Babylon and sent them back to Israel to rebuild the temple. He provided with gold and supported them. He is mentioned in the Bible like more than 23 times. Actually, God calls him in Isaiah 45, my anointed. Mashiach, my anointed, my shepherd, who will lead my people. And he led the people out from captivity into Persia. And not only after that, his son, and his grandson, after that, they began to support the Jewish people. The Artaxerxes, Xerxes was Esther's husband, and Artaxerxes, he was the one who gave permission to Nehemiah to go rebuild the walls. He commissioned Ezra to go teach the Torah. He said, go teach the Torah. And that's how Judaism, Jewish nation was revived, because of a Persian. He gave him the commission to go. Darius, he fasted for Daniel overnight when he was in lion's den. So we see that now we are seeing these things. And I didn't know these things. I was born 50 minutes, an hour from the tomb of Cyrus, from the palace of Xerxes. I didn't know any of those until actually in Turkey I read the Old Testament. And I began to see, wow, I saw Darius, Xerxes, Artaxerxes in the Bible. And I was so amazed. And I know that millions of Iranians now, they are trying to be like Cyrus. You know, when you have a hero, let's say you want to be, as an American, you want to be like George Washington or Abraham Lincoln, or you have a hero, you have a national figure that you want to be like, founding father. But then, when we were Muslims, our hero was Muhammad. And Muhammad was the biggest anti-Semite in history. He hated the Jews. He started this whole mess of Islamic nations, Islam hating the Jews. And they killed, Bani Qurayza, there's many Jewish villages and communities that were killed by Muhammad. In fact, the Iranian government built a missile and called it Khaybar Shikan. And Khaybar Shikan means the breaker of Khaybar. So what was Khaybar? Khaybar was a Jewish community in Medina. And Muhammad conquered and killed all of them. So 1400 years later, the regime in Iran builds a missile. It's called Khaybar Shikan, meaning that it's not that they really disagree with the Israeli government, they hate the Jewish people. And that's why you see in every Islamic country, they hate the Jewish people. So, and by the way, they hate Christians too. So what happened was, when we were Muslims, we want to be like Muhammad, and he hated the Jews. He was against the Jews. And that's why many people were against Israel and Jews. Now, Iranians want to be like Cyrus. And who was Cyrus? He was a Zionist. That's why Iranian people are completely shifting from being anti-Israel to being friends of Israel. And if you notice, every protest, pro-Israel rally, Iranians are standing next to Israelis with Persian flag, with Israeli flag. And so Iranians are allying with Israel now, which is a beautiful thing.
Yes, it is. So the situation at this moment is unsure.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, besides God, what is going to happen. But you recently published an article with Ma'arif, and you said that you believe these protests could lead to the end of the regime. Why do you believe that?
Because the anti-regime protest sentiment, the people are not satisfied with the regime. 47 years. The chantings that people are chanting on the streets, it's no longer about, oh, give me my right, or give me my, this or that. I want economic prosperity. I want more opportunities. They're not chanting those anymore. They're saying down to the regime, down to Khamenei, and long live the king, calling for the King Reza Pahlavi to come back because of his father. His father and grandfather really built Iran, and they're so sorry what they did to his father. Iranians are saying now, they say death to us for saying death to Shah. We're so sorry, and they want his son to come back. So the chantings, that Iranian people, now they're chanting for the destruction of all of the regime, not just demands on certain things, but they're demanding the whole regime change, because they say these people who rule over us, they're not even Iranians. They don't consider them to be Iranians. They don't consider them to be in the welfare of Iranian people. Economically, socially, politically, they're suffering. Iranian people are people of music, art, literature, and poetry. They're not terrorists running with guns trying to kill people. But the whole world thinks Iranians are terrorists. So this regime has destroyed the reputation of the Iranian people. This regime has destroyed everything about these people. So that's why the people don't want them at all, because they see every day situation getting worse and worse and worse. And the war, starting wars and proxies. The regime is giving billions of dollars to its proxies. People's money. They just gave $1 billion to Hezbollah just 2 months ago. And they gave $30 billion to Assad in Syria. They gave $2 billion to Venezuela, to Maduro, and they go build schools and properties, mosques in Iraq, in Syria, in other places, while Iranian people cannot afford food, daily food. So imagine, people cannot buy food in Iran, they're hungry, and yet they spend their money on terrorism. So people see that, and they know that their enemy, and they're chanting this, they're chanting on the streets that my enemy is not Israel, our enemy is not America, my enemy is right here, this regime is our enemy. They're chanting, they said, دروغ میگن دشمن ما آمریکاست، دشمن ما همینجاست. They said it's a lie that they say our enemy is America, our enemy is right here. And so the Iranian people have woken up, and they know that their enemy actually is Islam, and now they are reviving the history, they are remembering the history, studying that actually 1400 years ago this began. This anti-Persian sentiment, war against Persians, it started 1400 years ago with Muhammad, with his caliphate, and with his grandsons and so forth, that they hated Persians and they conquered Persia. What happened on October 7th is exactly how Persia was conquered. So Iran was conquered by Muslims. They came, they raped, they beheaded men, they raped women, and this is how Persia was conquered by Muslims, and then the entire Middle East and North Africa. So Iranians now are remembering that. They say we are actually conquered, we're under siege by these Islamists, and they want to take the country back. So it's no longer an economic issue only, it's an identity issue.
Our hearts are with the Iranian people right now, and especially as we've heard Ramin's story, his own personal testimony in the previous segment, and now talking about his understanding, his relationship with the Iranian people, understanding what is actually going on in the protests. Please follow us at All Israel News, where we will continue to be covering the situation in Iran.